What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Lawton's Performance Garage. Today we're going to be doing some serious engine and engine bay work to this car. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pressure wash the engine bay of this car. We are going to clean up the motor, paint this engine bay, and get this motor installed and maybe even get it running and driving. And I'm sure you guys are annoyed at how I ended the last video, so of course we're going to see the motor run. So the current setup is pretty much the same as what I showed you guys last, except for I've got a bottle of fuel right here going into the fuel pump. I've got, the same ignition setup, and I need the booster pack to get this thing started because the starter's pretty tired. But we have here a Holley 600 CFM vacuum secondary carb, so we'll go ahead and get it cranked up. I might throw some fuel down the throat of this thing, and we'll get it cranked up and hear it start. I also installed one of my new Tri-Y headers that I just received in the mail. I got the second one right here, and hopefully those should fit without smashing it too hard, considering how much more narrow it is than those manifolds that were on it originally. Now, this engine hasn't ran in almost 20 years, which is a long time for something like this to be sitting. Now, I've gone through it and made a few precautions just to see and make sure everything's going to be fine once I crank this engine up. This engine was sitting in an old circle track car. It came out of a like 84 Fox body Mustang, something around there. And yeah, so hopefully we can get this thing cranked up and hear purr. Now let's get this thing started. And there we have it. It's alive. Alrighty, now that we've confirmed that this engine runs, we can go ahead and disassemble it and prep it by pressure washing it, and we can go ahead and paint this and get it ready to go in the car. Alright, so now we're going to take the cherry picker and slightly lift this engine up so we can separate the engine and transmission from each other, and then we're going to be able to pressure wash the transmission, and then we're going to set this engine onto a engine stand, and then we're going to be able to pressure wash and paint that and get them both prepped, and then they will be put back together and then put into the car. Now I've got the engine suspended here on my chain hoist, and I'm going to take a few of these parts out so we can clean this engine up, give it a coat of paint, and then we will get the engine and transmission that has just got a fresh coat of paint on it. We will give them some time to mate, aka I'm going to bolt them together. So we'll get them together, we'll get the engine bay painted, and then we'll get this engine installed. Now I got ourselves some dark Ford blue right here. Now that the engine's all prepped, we're going to get her some color. I see a small block and I want to paint it blue. No colors anymore, all I see are blue. Alright, so the next thing I gotta do is I'm gonna pressure wash this transmission to get it ready for paint, and then we can clean up the 302 and then mate the two together and slap them in the car. Next step is going to be to pressure wash the whole engine bay of this car to get it prepped and ready for some black paint so that it'll be ready to install the motor. Alright, now that this is all pressure washed out and clean, I'm going to go ahead and let this nice sunny day dry the engine bay out, and then we can get the engine and transmission separate and pressure wash those and get them ready for paint. Alright, well, the motor's in and we ran into a slight problem. So this engine came out of an 84 Fox body, meaning it has a dual sump oil pan, but it's primarily a rear sump oil pan. So, if I can show you guys, down here, the oil pan's hitting the steering linkage. No good. Can't have that. And the motor also won't go all the way in because of that. So, you know, thanks to a little bit of YouTube magic, I already have now here a front sump oil pan timing cover because you have to relocate your dipstick to the front. And I have here a oil pan, I have a pickup tube for the oil, and I have a new dipstick to go into that timing cover. So we're going to get that motor back pulled out, and then once that's out, I can go ahead and switch all those parts around on it. I'm going to try and catch my oil because that oil is still good that's in it. So I'm going to try and catch that, and we're going to try and keep all that, switch it all around, then put this motor back in. Then we can put the cross member in, and then that'll be pretty much the motor installed. So I got the motor out of the truck. Wasn't too hard. You know, chain hoist makes it pretty easy. So we got it yanked out. We're going to go ahead and drain the oil from it. Then we can pull the oil pan off and then start disassembling the front of the motor too. Alright, so we got the motor pulled apart right here. We have the new timing cover painted nice Ford blue. We're going to have to take off of this oil pump pickup tube. We're we're gonna have to take that off and swap it with our new one right there. We have the new oil pump there. I'm going to rob off of that 351 Windsor over in the corner a reusable oil pan gasket, just because that'll be nice and sweet on there, so we can use that. Looks like this thing's been upgraded to a double roller timing chain, which is nice. Fuel pump eccentric looks good. It's actually a performance one if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that's just something 84 used. I don't know. I know this thing is a mildly built motor, and you know, that's all I know about it. I have no clue any specs. I just know it's mildly built. I know the guy who sold it to me, and he claimed it was built. He said he put a good amount of money into it, so I'll go ahead and trust what he's saying, and hope this thing's a pretty damn hot motor. Alrighty, so I got the new timing cover, dipstick, and oil pan installed on the motor, so we're ready to put this back in the car for good this time, hopefully. Alrighty, so the motor is installed in the car with our front sump oil pan and everything. We have some new grade 8 bolts and motor mounts. So this thing should be ready to roll. We can start bolting on accessories, we can start putting in the radiator and everything else, but pretty much the hard part's done. This is a major step in this car's progress. Alrighty, so I've just installed the transmission cross member, which means this motor is finally in the car all on its own, and the engine is properly secured. The next step is going to be wrapping these tri-Y headers. Now these are going to look great installed. I've already checked, I've made sure they fit without even dinging them, so that's pretty nice. I got them off of flashshark.com, so go ahead and give them a shot if you've got a Mustang or a Cougar, because these seem to fit remarkably well. I was super impressed with that, but we're going to go ahead and get these wrapped black. That way, I think it'll look better, and they also won't melt my clutch cable that way. So we're going to go ahead and wrap these up, and then we'll get them put onto the motor. Now, if you're wondering how in the world I got this strap the perfect length before I wrapped it, I call that the art of guesstimation, because I don't know. I just did it. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed on the car. And yeah, I'll bring you guys over there so you can watch me do that. How fun. Alrighty, let's get this thing in the car. So we're going to grab our header, and it's got a funky direction it likes to go in, but that's how I found works. Kind of just go right in here. You keep it as upward as possible. I swear I got this to fit before, so just trust me here. Bear with me. There we go. And we're in. So now for the fun part is the company that I bought this from. They provide you with a manifold gasket, however, it is the one that does not have the hooks at the end. So you kind of have to put this in all at once like this. It's a little bit tricky, but it's not that bad. You just kind of slide it in like that. Just gonna line that up. I'm trying my best to not touch all this fiberglass. It's not great on your fingers, that's why I was wearing gloves. Looks like we have one started. There we go. Let's get one in the back started. In case you guys are wondering, I am not using these stupid T-handles. They've been nothing but in the way this whole project, so bye-bye. Seems like we have a second one started. And that now I'll get the rest of the bolts on off camera, but I'll give you guys a look here. Looks pretty nice in there and clears absolutely everything. I've decided you guys are going to learn what it feels like to live life a quarter of a turn at a time, so alrighty, so a lot has happened since I last recorded. I have assembled this thing a lot further. You know, sometimes with these projects you just kind of have to have fun with it and you forget to turn the camera on. But so I've installed the distributor, the coil, the water pump. I've got a radiator installed. I got hoses on the radiators. I got the new dipstick in, new water neck and thermostat housing. I got the starter solenoid on here, a battery in here. We have our temporary wire for power here. I've got the carburetor hooked up. I've got the fuel pump and fuel lines hooked up to the tank. We got fuel here and pedal linkage. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to roll with this. And before you come after me, I remember myself saying that I was not going to change the oil. Well, there was some sludge made of either old oil or mouse poop at the bottom of the pan, so I went ahead and changed the oil. I've also now just purchased a new driveline for this car, so we're going to go ahead and throw some conversion U-joints in it. We're going to install the slip yoke onto it, and we'll get it installed in the car. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film it, because, again, this thing's pretty darn low. Alrighty, so I got the drive shaft here. It's slipped into the transmission. It's not backed out too far, maybe just over an inch. And then we got it strapped in to the yoke right there on the diff. Alright, so I went ahead and I pulled the pedal box out of the car, out from under the dash. You don't have to undo too much. You're just going to have to undo, I think it's 4 nuts in here, and then 1 bolt out there under the hood for the brake booster. Then you can remove 2 nuts right here to pull this e-brake down to the side, and then you can just slip this thing out of here. Now you can see this was obviously an automatic car, you know. It's got, you know, the bolts for the automatic shifter, and it's got the automatic brake pedal, but it's already got the hole to add the clutch pedal in. So we're going to have to cut this brake pedal right here, and I've got the brake pad to go right there on it. So that's how it will look when we're done here. And then you have included bushings and stuff to install into here, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing back in there. I also went ahead and I ran my cable. You can see it's my throttle, or my clutch cable's down here. It's hooked up to the transmission and throat arm. Now, I decided to go with a tri-Y header, and I'm gonna have to put a heat shield around this, even though I wrapped my headers. The cable's literally pressed up against the header, so I'll just throw a heat shield on it and it should be fine. Now this kit I'm using is the Mustang Steve pedal conversion kit. I believe it's the CK167P kit right here. And you have to modify your pedal box a little bit so that way you can put in an adjustable pedal stop for the clutch. Now you should already have the hole for your clutch pedal to just slip right in, even though this is an automatic car. But so you're going to have to mark this out like this. We're going to cut out these areas, bend this tab up and weld it, and then I believe we have to make a little slotted hole right here, and then you can install this adjustable clutch pedal stop right there. And it's got a little bumper on it just to give you I think the best feel possible. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sand down this dashboard. I'm going to take the time and I'm going to paint it, I think with some semi-gloss black, and that should get this thing looking pretty nice for the interior, and it should look pretty darn good with our new tilt column installed and with all of our nice refreshed dash components put back in. Looks like we're going to have to sand this dash back down because some of this paint is, in fact, not sticking. Don't you love it? And we've got a pretty bad little thing of orange peel right there, so looks like we're going to have to try again with this dashboard. Now, to give myself a little bit of peace of mind that I'm going to fit, being 6'4", my head literally touches this ceiling or roof of the car, so I went ahead and I trimmed up my seat mount right here. I made it a whole lot shorter, and I also just made the holes a little bit wider. Now this little seat mount had already been moved back a couple inches from the factory location. I'm assuming by a slightly shorter person than me, but still taller than your average Joe. So we got this floor pan that's still, or this seat mount that's still stock and mounted in pretty much the original location. And then we got this one. You can see it's moved back a few inches, and this one's a heck of a lot shorter. You can see that gap versus this. That gap versus this. So I'm gonna go ahead and, this was also only self-tapered in. So I'm gonna get this welded into the car. That's gonna give me, you know, hopefully about 2 more inches, maybe a tiny bit more. And that should help me out in the headroom area a little bit. right, now that I got that good and tacked all the way around, I'm gonna let that cool off, and then I think I'm gonna just spread some seam sealer all the way around it, and then we'll go ahead and shoot some spray paint over it. And then once we're kind of finished up here, we can put down our sound deadening that I bought all the way around all of this. Alrighty, I went ahead and I touched up the dashboard, and it's looking a whole lot better now. There's no more little pinholes or orange peels anywhere. There's just this weird little ridge that just kind of didn't sand out for some reason, but that's alright. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clean all this out right here, and we're going to lay down some sound deadening. I also need to seam sealer around right here, which I might get to, or I might not. I might just get kind of close to it and then put some seam sealer down, wait for that to cure, and then put it over right there. I think I'm gonna, haven't decided yet if I'm gonna go over right here with sound deadening pad and like maybe some strips right here, or if I'm just gonna kind of go right up to it. Haven't decided on that yet, because that's not technically the actual floor, that's just the seat pan or seat mount. pretty big update. I did a bunch of work off camera. I got the carpet back installed, I got the rear seat in, I got that seat bolted in, and most importantly, I put in our universal tilt steering column so we can, you know, go off of this when we rewire the car and using that GM plug, which is going to be much easier with, yeah, I just mentioned that. Rewiring the car with this painless performance harness. I'm really excited to rewire it. I'm ecstatic that I'm going to rewire it. I'm going to have no more electrical issues once I rewire it. It's going to be super reliable. It's going to look way better. It's going to be tidy. It's going to be simpler. I'm super happy to be rewiring it. I'm super happy. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Lawton's Performance Garage, and I'll see you guys next time. So you can watch me rewire my car. I'm really excited. I'm serious, I'm super excited about this.